like home office or some shit like that. You know, they're a company built in the 20th century, so they should be more relaxed than Nike. That's why I say I think that's a pretty cool switch. I would have taken that switch.
Well, I guess when you put it that way, it makes more sense.
He probably still gets paid the same amount, maybe slightly less, but at that level, you know, we're talking about millions of dollars anyways. So
Like what position did I say he got?
it wasn't a VP.
President.
Yeah, okay. Well, it depends. Maybe not millions then.
What is president now compared to?
Like, you know, vice president is like behind the CEO. So maybe president is like, I don't fucking know.
He's the chief digital officer at Nike, head of global strategy and development. But he also worked at Zynga and AMC Theaters for 10 months. This guy looks like maybe like just joins boards and helps them out or something because.
Yo, your voice is like cracking or something.
Is it cracking a lot?
Now it is. It wasn't before, but like in the last 30 seconds to a minute. Yeah.
You know why it might be? Because I hit record. So I don't know if that plays an effect.
Maybe.
Let me just close everything on my computer except for.
Tell me next time before you hit record, bro. Jesus.
I know, but I can cut it, right? That's why
Yeah, I got you.
That's why I was like, in case there's some gold that comes out, we never know.
Fair enough. Fair.
So, but all right. So let me just keep closing everything until. Can you tell me, is the sound messed up still?
No, it's a little bit better now.
All right. I literally don't have any apps open.
Yeah, but it could be the internet. I don't know. Just guessing.
Look at the performance on the computer real quick. But I think, all right. So in any case, what do you think? I did think about it, but it was like a little bit of an intro / background. And should this conversation be anything linked to what we're planning to be doing, or should it be?
I don't know, man. I mean, why not? It can. Doesn't have to be.
Okay.
I mean, you should always throw in a little bit of a call to action in everything you do. So yes.
All right. Call to action. So what would be the
What do you mean?
action?
That's literally the description for what it is.
What would you say would be a call to action for the end of any
Send me a
video?
connect if you're interested in learning about marketing or design services.
So just like connect with us type thing.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe even like you gotta put captions in videos too. That's like really important.
Captions, like written captions.
Yeah, like of what we're saying.
Yeah. How do you do that? Like someone has to manually, because I know there's a
I think you do. But you can like find someone on Fiverr to do it for super cheap. But it might be a little bit more expensive if you want it, and I think it's called SRT. And that's like the format you need for the captions to be placed, I believe. But I think YouTube even auto creates captions, so you can try that.
Exactly. Yeah, the YouTube. That's what I was
So
saying.
you might like upload it to YouTube and then download it, and then use that and upload that onto the other platforms. That was actually a trick I read on a Facebook group at some point.
Salud. Hello. Sí, yo sé, la tarjeta está lista, pero no estoy en Cabarete. Me llamaron ayer. No. Pero yo vengo el lunes.
Ok, no, pues está bien, era para informarte que.
Sí, sí, sí. Ayer o 2 días antes, sí.
No, está bien, ya tú sabes, está aquí.
Está bien, muchas gracias. Pasa buen fin de semana. It's crazy though how good the microphone is, because like when you went coughing, I didn't hear anything when it was up.
Oh yeah, no. You see the red light? The red light. That's like it's like up here, I think.
It turns off. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So be connect with us and talking a little bit about, I guess, what we do, like what could be done, and maybe where the industry is going. Because the 3 topics, right, were tourism,
You didn't send me the list. Oh, okay. Niches. Okay. It was,
niches.
what was it? Tourism, mobile apps, and mobile games. Is that what it was?
Yeah,
Like 2 of those were my suggestions. You just went with them. So I guess we're doing it.
that's why it's the easiest way. I'm all about not fighting
I,
on.
I am like at the moment focusing on the gaming industry because that's where I have like the most, I don't know how to say, experience and proven track record, I would say.
Yeah.
And so far it's working out. We'll see how it continues.
No, so I think what we can do is sort of hit right now that this thing's gonna go on right here. Look, bam, it's live. Now it's live.
All right. I think that was a pretty golden nugget though, with the YouTube, uploading it to YouTube, doing the
You know,
automatic captions.
yeah, with the automatic captions though, I actually did not understand what you were saying. Like it automatically
If
just
you
does it.
upload a video to YouTube, you can set it to do the captions, just to try and use
Formulate them.
to formulate, and then you can edit what it gets or what the software gets out of the video, and then that's an easier way to actually do captions. And then you can download the video from YouTube and then use that on other media platforms, social media platforms,
I
with the
get you now.
captions from YouTube.
I get you. Not smart. That is actually smart. And what you're doing at the same time is helping their AI.
Yeah, basically.
Training
That's
it
true.
for them.
Yeah.
No, so what week are we on? We're 3 weeks in from talking about what we were thinking to start. But now we got to
With
figure
3
out
weeks, hasn't it been like what, 2-3 months?
the year.
A year. Oh yeah, has it been a year already? Holy shit.
It's been a long
Time does fly. Jesus. Yeah. I guess
So
it has
here
been
we
a
are
year.
then,
Yeah, here we are. 1 year later.
1 year later. Now good things take time. I'm trying to
Yeah,
figure out, I'm
that's
trying to pull up the document though, to actually have that in front of me with Google Docs.
Which document are you speaking of? The
2 documents we're gonna have, the white label. Perfect.
See, that's why you need a setup with 2 monitors, man. You're on one screen, on the other screen I can do whatever I want.
That's true, but I'm on a laptop, so it is what it is.
Yeah, but there's actually like little super thin. I remember back in the day you could get like this really big bulky thing to attach to your laptop, but nowadays it's like this super thin screen that you can get, and it just like hooks onto your laptop, and you have 2 screens. And it's like super thin, and it just folds on top of your laptop, dude.
Well, we're living in the Dominican Republic still, so I haven't seen that stuff.
What do you mean? It's on Kickstarter and stuff.
But it's not released to the public yet.
Where am I? Sorry, what?
I was just saying it's not released to the public. Anyways, fuck it. Doesn't matter.
Yes, it is. You can. Oh, that was a few months ago, so you can probably find out where to order it and get it sent to your U.S. address. So.
Yeah, no, I'm taking down a couple notes, and then I'm actually going to. I got a good one. Running ads versus. Yo, what time is the meeting that you guys got? Like soon, right? Yeah, you guys are at 10:30. You said. Okay, fuck. No, that's it. Just to know, because what we're gonna do, Dave and I, is just like I guess a quick little bit of an intro and like a 10 minute intro, and then that's it.
I don't know, like intro what, like what you've done so far? Is it like a little bit of a history or?
I don't
What do
think
you
a
mean by
history,
that?
but I'm just thinking about like running ads on LinkedIn versus Facebook since you just tested it, like for personal business, and then like the
Yeah,
results
for
again.
B2B. I mean, LinkedIn can be really good for B2B. It's just you really need to work on your targeting, and it's the same thing as marketing on any other platform, but it's just way more business oriented, and the costs are just so much more, or it's much more expensive, so the costs are much higher. Like the cost per clicks are generally much higher, depending what you're going for. But you also need to go for more long term, in my opinion, as you do in all B2B.
But you're saying on LinkedIn's, how much more expensive was it compared to Facebook?
Like 2 to 3 times, easy. It depends. I mean, if you do have a really good ad running on Facebook, might even be 5 to 6 times more expensive from what I've seen so far. I mean, there are ways to lower that on LinkedIn too, but then you're also paying for engagement. So you might not, like at the end, you might actually be paying the same for a click to your landing page or whatever it is that you want to send them to. But if you're trying to build a following on your company page, which is actually a smart idea, then it's actually even cheaper than Facebook. So that's the thing. It depends what you're going for. If you're going for traffic to like a landing page, if you're doing some sort of webinar or something like that, then
It's a lot more expensive.
it's more expensive. But if you're trying to build a presence on LinkedIn, um, as it would be if you're trying to build a presence on Facebook, it would also be significantly cheaper than it is. So at the end, LinkedIn is like 3 to 5 times more expensive overall.
That's if you use it though to bring people off of LinkedIn. But if you're keeping
Yeah.
them on it, then
Yeah. Then it's cheaper than sending people off of Facebook, for example. But if you want to
yeah.
like get likes on Facebook, then that would again be cheaper than sending them off of Facebook. So there's like 2 tiers. So if you're trying to build up a following on Facebook or on LinkedIn, it's still more expensive. If you're trying to send people off of Facebook or off of LinkedIn, LinkedIn is still more expensive. So if you
Expensive.
compare them,
But then again, the results on the LinkedIn side is gonna be a lot stronger potentially for the
yeah, it
business,
depends. I mean,
like the
on your
quality.
price point, right? As well, because if you're selling high ticket stuff, then it can really back out really well, and you can get a really high return on investment. I mean, if you get a close, like you can close someone for like 100K or something, then paying $5, $10, $50 a click might not be a problem, because
Yeah.
you can target your exact audience.
And that's what actually like now what I feel, even though it's probably still early, is that LinkedIn is probably gonna be taken off. Like the beginning is now.
I think the beginning was a little bit earlier, to be honest. It would have made more sense to start building it out not too long ago, like maybe a year ago. But I mean, now is better than never, right? So,
Yeah.
and I think there is still a lot of potential, and it still is in its infancy. I just think that if you would have started earlier, then it would have.
But what would have changed if you would have started a year ago than if you would have started today, let's say?
You would have already had a bigger following to help the LinkedIn AI pick up all the content that you're already putting out there.
Yeah, but you could still make up for it, right? You could
Yeah,
like
of course,
if you didn't, if you
of
didn't do it
course.
a year
Well,
ago,
how does
like
the saying go? The best time to plant a tree was 10 years ago. The next best time
yeah,
is right now. So
I thought the
I'm
next
not
best time
arguing
would have
with
been
you on this.
yesterday. Every day after those 10 years. No,
Oh, that's not how the saying goes.
no, it's
I
not
don't
how
think I
saying
said it
goes.
right either.
Yeah, I think it's like the best time to plant a tree was yesterday. The next best time
I'm pretty sure
is right now.
the best time was 10 years ago, and then the next best time might be yesterday.
Yeah.
Or some shit.
No, but so then running ads on. Have you been still running ads today, like since recently, or no? You stopped.
I stopped the ads for a short while just to see what results I would get from the leads I had.
Yeah.
But I'm probably going to turn them back on using Biz-Dev Media.
Oh, okay.
So why not?
And
Yeah,
how did the ads look when you set them up? So what is
I
the
can send you what it looked like, but
on
it's just
Zoom?
in the feed. If you just go to LinkedIn, go to your home and just
Yeah, you
scroll,
see. Yeah, you just
and
see
then
the
at some
sponsored.
point you see sponsored. That's exactly what it
Yeah,
looked like with what. Yeah, there we go. Promoted. That's what it is.
yeah.
Exactly what it looked like. It just looks like a piece of content. It's LinkedIn, well, it depends. That's the format that I was choosing, and it's also one of the most expensive ones. But it's native, right? Because it blends in with the content, so it's really high quality.
And with like with LinkedIn, what do you think? What do you think is the best way then to succeed for the 2020?
Put out content, live content. I think someone made a prediction about that, and I think that's true. I think that happened with Facebook not too long ago with the live content, and using that to build out an audience, because I think they really push live content out to like to see if it like catches on.
Well, we applied for the live content and didn't hear back yet. I just keep getting emails.
Emails? What do you mean? About LinkedIn?
Like to go, to go live on LinkedIn. Like you have to go through a process of approval. You can't just hit live, right?
No, I know, but maybe it didn't go through. Maybe reach out to support and see what happened.
No, they sent an email saying that they're working on it, but they just have a lot of inquiries. So yeah. But then, so it's just putting out content.
But other than that, I think just putting out content, and I think also from your own and commenting. But I think more importantly, putting out your own content. Like, if I scroll through my feed, and I've been doing that for like the last 3 weeks, just opening up. I exchanged, what was it? One of my bottom apps with LinkedIn, and I just open it whenever I'm just on my phone, and I just scroll through my feed and see who I can like, who I can comment on. I usually try to do it on things that are like I think are truly awesome or like better than average in my opinion, because there's a lot of stuff that just seems common sense to me. I'm like, yeah, well, that's obvious, but maybe it's not to most people. But I try to like stuff that's like, oh, that's actually interesting. But I see a lot of Gary Vee because he just puts out, like, I'm following him obviously, but he just puts out so much content that I constantly see new stuff. But I think that he also puts out a lot of like common sense stuff, and he rehashes a lot of the stuff because he's trying to do that. I don't think we need to go that hardcore, because I think he puts out like on LinkedIn, I don't know, like 50 things a day or at least more. What was he saying in one of his talks? Like 200 pieces of content a day per platform or some shit like that. I think that's a little bit, I personally think that's a little bit over the top. I can't compete with that either. So I think, just putting out 1 or 2 pieces of content a day, that's valuable, that truly helps people and is a little bit more long form, is not just like little tidbits, might bring the most value and the type of clients that you're looking for.
But also, I think if you're trying to offer value, sorry, if you're trying to offer value to a lot of people, then also you might not, you're just scratching the surface on the topic, right? Because you're trying to go broad to help out as many people as possible.
Yeah, but that's Gary Vee's, that's his strategy, right? Like, is that what we want to do? I personally want to just try and get like quality clients that I enjoy working with and to build a long-term relationship with them. You know what I mean? And help them grow and grow with them. You know what I mean? As opposed to trying to help, I don't know, 50 or 100 different companies.
Well, that's why in the end, right, you're there to help them out. Like, if you're not helping them out, then no relationship's gonna work. No matter if it's a business or if it's a friend or if it's whatever. If you're not bringing value, then that's it. What are you doing? It makes no sense. Like, you might be around because there's nothing better, but in the end, it's not gonna last. So it comes down to that, though. Like, if you're putting out a lot of generic content, like broad content, then
that's the thing. I think he mixes it. He does put out like some of the content, and I'm like, okay, that's an interesting view. But like a good chunk of what he puts out, I'm like, yeah, that's in my opinion obvious, and something he's already said before. But that's how you get in front of as many people as possible.
True, but also you're exposed to the ideas already, so that also makes it that like some things you've already heard before. Because like,
of course. So people that start following him might not have heard it, and that makes sense.
Yeah. So that's the other thing. But no, it's part of the game. You're not gonna be able to please everyone, and especially the guys that are like maybe deeper in the game are like, well, that's common knowledge, that's common sense.
Yeah, of course. Of course,
and it
of
is
course.
what it
People
is.
just getting into the business or like just getting into like learning everything might be like,
Into
oh
the
yeah,
growth mindset.
yeah, sure, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, whatever, exactly, whatever you want to call it. Who knows what the hell this is? Though tourism, mobile apps, mobile games, what do they all have in common?
What do they all have in common? They are all a form of entertainment, I think.
All a form of
Well,
entertainment.
maybe not mobile apps. That's true. I'm thinking of games and tourism right now, but what do they all have in common?
Well, mobile apps are entertainment because Facebook is there to entertain you.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
not
yeah,
a
but there's
game,
also
but
mobile apps for fitness, even though that could be considered a form of entertainment. Could be,
yeah,
um,
the weather.
but also for business, which could also theoretically be considered a form of entertainment
Yeah.
for those that enjoy it.
No, I guess in the end,
But
everything's a form of entertainment that sort of
it's
like
tough to
takes you out
say.
of, yeah, it takes you out of the norm.
The I think the commonality between those three is us. Like we understand the tourism industry, we understand the gaming industry, we understand the mobile app industry.
And also, they all need advertising in a way, right? They all need to reach out to consumers and to their clients to be of value, right? If no one, if you have the best destination in the world, the best beach, the best hotel, the best mobile game, and no one knows about it,
Yeah, yeah.
then
It's interesting. I've been like using Sales Navigator a lot to try and find gaming companies to connect with and their
yeah,
CEOs and stuff. And a lot of them are just small teams of developers. Like they don't have marketing at all.
sure,
And I'm just really surprised about that. I mean, I wonder if a lot of them just put it out there and be like, yeah, this game's gonna work.
yeah.
Or they think that they need a massive budget to start, which is also not the case. But
No, but that's also the thing is that, you know, some with doctors, with lawyers, with anyone that has like these sort of what would you call that genre, like that, like this very specific knowledge of some sort of skill or service, or I don't even know if it's, I think it's like maybe a skill.
specialists?
Yeah, like I guess a specialist, but like sometimes they're very good in that one thing, and then the rest of it like they sort of just forget, you know. So like they might come up with a good idea of like a new vaccine, but then they don't know what the potential actually is because like, oh, this cures this, but maybe they don't know like the how big it could actually go.
Yeah, I
So you
guess.
need like a
Yeah.
sales guy, you need like you need someone to develop the thing. He might not be a doctor, he might not be a developer, but he understands the technology or the use and application of that product or that service or that breakthrough.
Yeah.
And it's like sort of two different things, you know, like you have guys like Elon Musk that might be good at both. They might be geniuses like engineers, and then they're also good salespeople.
Yeah.
But then you have some guys that are just salespeople. They don't know how to create anything, just sell it. And then they have other guys that I guess selling is creating, but you have other
Yeah.
guys that just know how to create it. And
Yeah. You can't expect everyone to be a jack of all trades. I think that's
exactly, but you need a mix, that's for sure.
yeah, of course.
No, and that's why it's like in the end they all seem different, tourism, mobile apps, and mobile games. But then again, in the end, if it's on the internet, it's almost all the same. You know, it's like if it's all in the supermarket, it's all
Yeah,
a product.
it's generally all the same advertising platforms. The targeting doesn't change, like the way that you target people, right? Finding out who to target is a different topic altogether, but how to target people is the same, regardless of industry, right?
Yeah,
But these are just the industries that I think we have the most passion for.
that's true. That is true. And that's
I mean,
also, you know,
we've thought about targeting like dentists and stuff like that in the past, but the thing is, it's just there's no
I go to a
connection
dentist
there.
once a year. Exactly. I'm gonna
Yeah.
see those guys.
I mean, I have a family friend of mine is a dentist, or was. She just retired, but there's no love between me and dentists in general.
Yeah. No, and I was just thinking about this randomly, like came into the thought is what is a platform that is not like known? You know, like everyone uses the same platforms, like LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Google.
You just
Is there
said
a
the
platform?
biggest growing one. You just forgot to mention the one that's growing the most at the moment.
Yeah, but what is like? So what is there anything that's like up and coming that's like not being utilized
What do you mean TikTok? Like it's not up and coming. I think it's already growing like crazy.
other than that? Like another one.
I have no idea. Do you know? I mean,
That's what I'm saying.
not yet.
That's what I'm wondering. I don't know. You know,
No,
I
I
know
have no idea.
TikTok's getting started, but I'm just thinking about it. I'm like,
Well, I
man, is
mean,
there
getting
any?
started. I think there are like 700 million users or something like that. Within,
Oh,
they're
and it's
big, man.
yeah, they're big and they're global. Like global in the sense of
Yeah,
like I've
yeah,
even seen people here in like not like I'm gonna use the
yeah,
word
yeah,
like
yeah. Of course,
out
TikTok
in
is
the
massive.
countryside. No, but out in the countryside using it.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's the thing with mobile phones. With mobile phones, you and that like if you look at a lot of African countries,
Yeah,
they're skipping the computers. They're going straight from whatever it was they had before, which is basically nothing, straight to mobile phones.
yeah.
So you can now reach almost everybody on Earth through mobile phones. Obviously not yet because adoption is not at 100%, but I think 5 to 10 years and we'll be pretty close to
What is
reaching almost
the
every single person on Earth.
what is? Did you just say a number? Did I miss that? Did you just say a number of how many people have mobile phones in the world?
No, I would have to
Uh,
see the exact number, but I don't. It's not 100%. I'm very, very aware of that.
for
Some
sure.
countries might just be even at 50%, if I'm not mistaken, but I could be wrong. It's growing really fast though. So, and mobile phones are getting cheaper and cheaper and cheaper for crazy. Like a few years ago, like the technology that you would have to pay $800 for, you can now get for 150, and I'm not even joking.
Yeah. I
it's
even
insane.
saw I even saw a Huawei phone here that someone was showing me, and that literally was, if not the same features of an iPhone or better, for $300.
Yeah,
I was like,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
the only
yeah,
thing it,
yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah, of course. It's
and the only
crazy.
thing it doesn't have is the Apple logo or the Samsung logo, but it still did like power wise was if anything
Yeah,
better.
the hardware. That's the
The
thing. Hardware is
hardware.
getting cheaper.
Yeah.
Now it's more of a point of deciding what kind of company I guess you want to work with, or what company you want to buy from.
Or who do you want to spy on you?
Yeah, I don't know. I think at this point your information is out there. Like, I think if somebody really wants your information, they'll get it. Like,
I mean, I
I
put
don't
in
think
my
there's much stopping them anymore.
yeah. You don't even have to put in your credit card information. Nothing. They're just like, yo, here, just charge it somewhere in the air. You know, like, oh, this is your information, auto save. Like, it's
Yeah,
crazy. It's
yeah. If
honestly,
someone really wants your information,
it's
they
there.
can get it.
Yeah.
They can get it.
No, so I think in the end, like, for you're saying for small companies that are like mobile apps, mobile games, one of the things they struggle with is marketing,
Yeah, it seems
getting
like
their
it.
game out there,
That's the
like breaking
impression I'm
through.
getting. That's the impression I'm getting. Like if you look at some of the bigger companies, they don't seem to have a problem with that at all.
Yeah,
I think I was looking like Voodoo, who creates some of their hyper casual games on mobile,
yeah.
and their biggest game has like 500 million downloads. You know, but they're like a bigger company with a few hundred employees, if I'm not mistaken. I'd have to double check that.
And how much do you see a
So
difference with
they
like how
probably have
much?
a huge marketing team. What?
No, like a question that could be interesting or something to figure out is how much do these larger companies that are very known spend on marketing compared to the small companies that are just starting out? Like, is there like on a percentage wise, you know,
Sorry,
like
can you repeat that question?
so on a percentage wise, right? So not
Yeah.
looking at how much money they're spending, just on like how much of the money they have or they're earning or whatever they might have. Like, what is the percentage? Are they both spending 50-50, 30-70, like
On marketing, you mean, or what?
on marketing efforts, right? Like to get their name out there. Like, are these guys like Fortnite? They're just dropping way more, a higher percentage.
I mean, Fortnite was more of a viral sensation.
Yeah,
I think.
But let's just
So
say
I think they hit the jackpot kind of. So I don't think they needed to spend too much on
let's
marketing.
just say someone. All right, that was a bad example, but let's just say someone who hypothetically did it through marketing.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't know what percentage they spend on marketing, to be honest. I would have to check that, like based on their like revenue numbers and stuff. I know
Yeah.
that employees is a huge number, so I don't think marketing depends again.
employees
It depends on the
helps-
company, right?
Yeah. But you're saying employees helps, like how does an employee help unless they're doing a marketing effort?
Well, it depends how quickly and how big you want to develop games, right?
Yeah.
The more people that are there, the quicker it goes generally, or the more projects you can work on at the same time.
No, but it's an interesting thing because when you look at percentages, then it sometimes also shed light. It sheds light
No,
on
no,
bias
I
light.
get that, but I don't have a figure.
Yeah.
I do know that marketing should be a big chunk. It's not the typical 10% that it might be for offline businesses and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It should be probably 30 or 40%, most likely, because it helps you grow, right? And it's a digital product. It can be repeated at a scale of millions within a few weeks, days, depending on the server infrastructure. And if the game even needs to connect to a server, that's a separate topic. Then you need to see that it scales with the demand.
Yeah.
But otherwise, it's a digital product that just gets duplicated over and over and over and over again
I got
instantly. So that's why you can scale really quickly. And if it's profitable within the time span that the company is looking for, then
Yeah.
generally it's not a problem to spend more because it just helps them get to profitability quicker and lets them grow quicker, right? And at some point, paid also helps with the organic because the more downloads you get, the higher you rank in the algorithm as well, right? Because if you're getting 10, like the main metric of ranking in the App Store is downloads. So the more downloads you get per day, the more you go up in the ranking.
So then it works both ways. So you need that combination, that synergy of the organic plus the paid.
Yeah. You need the synergy for sure. So your ASO or App Store optimization should be down as well, for sure. But like I said, I think the combination, if you can make it go viral or help it go viral by getting some influencers on board and stuff like that, then
We're adding viral factors to it to make it viral itself.
Yeah.
That's also the thing that people like. It goes back to it, right? That's all part of a marketing effort. Like adding in a viral factor is just can be just as effective as like a paid advertising campaign, right? So
in some cases it can be much more effective.
No, exactly.
The thing is it's much harder to scale. And usually bigger influencers cost bigger chunks of money. And you don't know how an influencer is really going to perform until they do it. I mean, you can look at their metrics and it's not just follower count, it's more about engagement. It's on how there's like I did the influencer marketing, or I was responsible for it for a while at one of the companies I worked at, gaming companies. And it's a lot of effort trying to figure out what channels you should actually work with, especially when they're throwing, like numbers of like 3 to 4K for like the first video of like 2 minutes. So,
and that's the thing with working with influencers too, is that there's like, it could work out really well, but you almost need an influencer that cares about the company and like sort of the mission that's going ahead, because if you just have an influencer who's just charging you, give me one sec, David. Yo, Yannick, here, let me give you your headphones. No. Yeah, but I gave them to you. No problem. Yeah, no, well, work. Hey, David.
Sorry? But you're very low.
There we go. How about now?
Yeah, better.
Perfect. Yo, here, Yannick. Yeah, no, so what I was saying about that with the influencers is like influencers could be a very good way to like promote a company, but if the influencers are just doing it, thanks. All right, we'll be in touch by phone. If influencers are just doing things just for the paycheck, right? Just for that couple $1,000 that you're giving them.
Yeah. You could tell when an influencer actually cared or not. When they didn't, they would just jump into the game without having tried it at all.
Yeah.
and not figuring out the UI or anything like that.
Not like they
And the
just
one that
cracked.
cared, they would have actually put in a few hours of game time before they would have like started their stream or their video or whatever, so that
Yeah.
you could, they knew where to click, and they'd be like, yeah, you can just click here for this, and kind of help the viewer also understand the UI and how the game is played.
So with the influencers in the gaming world, like how did that look for you? Did that was that they just went live, or was it different ways?
It
Like
depended, man.
Okay.
There were the ones that were just on YouTube or just doing video, and the ones that were going live.
You said you like mumbled that.
Like, okay, so there was a difference between streamers and just people that had YouTube channels, for example, or Snapchat or Facebook or whatever. So it really depended on the platform, I would say. And it also depended, the cost also like varies by platform. It's not easy, and it's pretty complicated.
So how does
At
that
the
calculation go about? How does a gaming company sort of justify the price that they're
You'd have to look at the market and compare between the different influencers and their engagement rates and stuff like that.
and that's it? Like that's
Yeah.
all there was? What happened? I didn't see. I saw the door open. What happened?
Nothing, all good.
Okay.
I think she forgot that we're still on a call or didn't hear
No,
us.
it's all good. Like, but I think that could be a good way to end it off. Is like, how do you know whatever initiative you take, right? Because that's also sort of a paid campaign, right? If you're getting an influencer or if you're putting ads on Facebook, you're spending money, right? So how do
Yeah.
you justify that money being spent as a company?
How do you justify it? Well, I mean,
Because obviously you want it
it's a
to be
test.
current,
That's what marketing is. It's a test. It's figuring out what works the best for your company, because it really depends on so many factors outside of marketing
Yeah.
to determine what channel is best. So the way that you start is usually with the bigger channels like Google and Facebook, and you see how they perform for you, because they are among the highest quality there is. Period. End of story. And they're also two of the biggest by far. So those are two good places to start. And then if you see that working, you can also add influencer marketing into the mix after. Some people suggest starting with influencer marketing, and that might be a good idea. Maybe not on the first game that you launch, if you already have some experience with influencer
Yeah.
marketing, or if you're already doing Facebook and Google, throwing it into the mix at a smaller scale to see how it performs with smaller numbers, and then grow it from there, as you do with all marketing, right? You don't go and buy like $100,000 placement generally before, unless you have that kind of money,
Yeah. But then
unless
again, it's not even
you
a
know
wise
how it
decision, right?
performs.
That's just like sort of throwing money in the toilet. If just because you have 100,000, you're gonna spend 100,000 on some bullshit.
Yeah, yeah.
Like you also have to. That's why it's almost like people get bored with it because it's not as like novel or complex. Hey, 1 second, I'm just gonna let this motorcycle pass. That it's not that novel and complex, but sort of doing those small tests, of like I'm gonna say $10 or $100. Sometimes doing
Yeah,
these small
like
tests.
$100. You can start with like a few $100s. Like you
Yeah,
might even get some smaller influencers for like 50 or $60, like the micro influencers, as they
yeah.
like to be called, or as they are called, not like to be called. Um,
What do they like to be called then? I'm a big
influencers,
influencer.
just influencers, I think.
Yeah,
But the thing is, you can go big. You can go up paying influencers like millions of dollars for a contract, right?
yeah.
Like we recently saw in the streamer world, for a Fortnite player. He got a contract. Nobody knows the exact sum, but some people are suggesting like 40, $50 million for like a 10-year contract. That's what they're suggesting, right? These are all rumors, but I can
10-year contract.
imagine that. What do you mean? Like
Sounds like
that's
they
the
have
world we
to
live
the
in now.
same game for 10 years. They better come out with
No,
some.
no, 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 no. To stream on their platform, not
Ah,
the game. It wasn't. He was just famous for playing that game, right? So if a new game comes out and he switches to the game, it's fine as long as he stays. He
on
moved
the
from
platform.
Twitch to Mixer, right? What?
Okay. So he was on Twitch. Now he's on another one called Mixer.
Yeah, yeah,
And
exactly. From Microsoft, if I'm not mistaken.
Who was the player? Is it a secret?
No, it's not Ninja. It was like that's his name.
Ah, okay, Ninja. Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
Sure. Yeah.
yeah. Tyler Blevins is his actual name.
That,
But I don't. Nobody knows. I don't think if you say Tyler Blevins, most people wouldn't know who that is.
yeah. No, I think he's known by Ninja, you know. But in the end, that's the thing, is that some people don't realize, like, that might sound like a lot of money, 40-50 million dollars, but then in the end, it could be the game changer for that company. It's you
Yeah,
see
of
it with,
course, of course.
I believe it was
Well, I mean, you see it in the sports world as well, right? Like,
yeah.
or celebrities. It's the same thing,
Jay-Z,
but
Jay-Z with Ciroc, right? Like
or similar.
they gave him half the company, and people would be like, "Yo, you guys are crazy," but in the end, sort of
He drove it.
both ways,
His brand, yeah.
if it wasn't for Ciroc and if it wasn't for him, they wouldn't be where they are today, right? So
Yeah.
it was a 50-50 initiative in a way, and people might be like, oh, yo, you can't be giving that much, can't be paying that much, whatever it might be. But sometimes the only way to get where you want to go is sort of by doing these things that in our day and age seem strange, but if you keep doing what everyone's doing, then you're gonna get the same results as everyone, right? So if you're trying to like break through and be one of those unicorns or be one of those unique individuals, you got to do unique shit. You can't be doing.
And you need to stay up to date on the latest trends. Because I've seen some companies do things that was old 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So so you really need to
you got to keep up with
adapt
the time,
quickly,
right?
because if you're in the internet world, and that's where we are now in the digital world. Like that's it. There is no escaping it. You basically, if you're not on the digital world, it's really hard to thrive, I think, in my opinion. Like you can still do the traditional methods, but if you're not online, then you're probably not going to make it around much longer.
Well, you're not. You might. That's the thing, though. The dilemma too is that the offline world, or it's just that it's not as scalable, and it goes back to that whole complexity and that novel thing.
It's also not as trackable. That's the thing. Well, with online, you can literally see which ad performs the best, like down to the exact return on investment it brought you over the course of the next. Like you can look at data looking back 20 years ago and see what ad worked 20 years ago on Facebook on a specific times. You know what I mean? And like, how do you do that with outside banner advertising? Like, super difficult. Maybe if AR takes over or VR, then that's a whole different story. But up until that point, then can't really track it
goes back to that,
nearly as well as online.
As a business, like, okay, obviously, if you're in the mobile world, right? Whether it's games or apps, you have to be online. Like, there's no there's no offline mobile. Like,
no. This is specifically for the tourists. But obviously, but there is traditional marketing channels that work for mobile apps, and a lot of them do it. Like, for example, taxi apps, like having, adding the, I don't know, what would you say, the logo or the logo of my taxi, for example, and they're called Free Now. On the side of all the taxis, that's also a cost, but I think that also helps with, brand recognition. So doing a combination of both might be good if you're trying to build a brand long term. But I would suggest starting and focusing on online first until you get to a certain point, and then you should, throw in more things into the mix to try. Like TV, for example, that's expensive. It's hard to track. It can produce results, but you really have to, test it slowly. And that's the thing with TV. It's hard to do that.
It's sort of also
You usually
mixing
need
and
to
matching.
You start with bigger amounts.
But it's also mixing and matching. Like, you could use offline events to promote them online, and you could use online events to promote them offline. Like, you can send people both ways. So finding it's just that I find that, well, both of them are hard on a creative basis, right? To create a good offline event or to create a good online campaign or an offline campaign, let's say, they're both very challenging. And then you have the other side
of course.
that people only like things that they can see and that they can measure. If you can't measure it or you can't see it, they're like, how do I know if it's working? Right.
Yeah.
So, and then you never know if that one thing that you did today in 2 years is when you're going to see the return on it, right? So that's the other
Yeah.
side of it too, is that like if people don't have that instant return, like, oh, we spent 1,000, we made 2,000, we spent 1,000,000, we made 5,000,000, you know, or we spent 5,000,000 and we lost, like we got zero. You know, if people don't see those things, then they just like it. Like people just like to calculate it, like have some sort of on the paper.
Yeah, no, of course. And I mean, obviously you can do that with advertising as well. Just look at the general sum, right? And maybe there's ways to track it. Maybe different banner types that you have out in the wild, or different locations maybe. But with online, it's much easier to see exactly what's working and what's not. More detailed, basically.
I guess you have a better feedback, right? Like
Yeah.
it's a more concrete feedback, so that sort of does help you adjust a little bit better for your future action plans, right? Because you have something to work off of, because you're like, ah, we see that this worked, or we see that this worked, we see that this didn't work, and you actually have something that's better than just your memory. Because if you try to use your memory, I could ask you like, hey, what was the third thing you saw this morning? You know, you'll be like, what is that? You might not even remember. What did you eat 5 days ago in the afternoon? You might not remember.
What like I don't know the number exactly, but I think it's like 7,000 pieces of advertisement a day. I think it's around that number. It might be even more than that.
That we're seeing.
I'm just guessing right now. I don't know the actual number, but we see a lot of ads a day, right?
But
and we
how
do get
do they
bombarded.
calculate 7,000? Would 7,000 mean this right here? Would that be one advertisement, the logo?
And no, I think like literal ads, like either by driving around and seeing the banner ads up to, seeing them on your phone when you're on an app, stuff like that, or when you're on Instagram or LinkedIn or Facebook.
That's crazy. 7,000 pieces.
I think, and let me double check that. I could probably just find out in a quick Google search.
Yeah, I don't have any Google open. I'm just here.
just Zoom, only Zoom. Yeah, I'm pretty happy I have a pretty beefy computer, man. I'm happy I invested in that.
Yeah. No, so then how would you say though, from your side of like from now you have almost what, over 10 years?
Yeah, roughly slightly over 10 years of experience. Yeah.
So how do you see like your shift in your efforts online for like paid advertising, marketing, like organic, non-organic? How did you
What do
see
you mean by that?
like, because before you're doing like your advertising strategy, has it changed at all, like sort of your methodology or the general philosophy?
Honestly,
Now
like the basics are always the same. Regardless, I think that has not changed over time.
Yeah.
The platforms may have changed, like Facebook has changed their algorithm. They changed the way you target, or like who you can target. They had restricted that. They made that harder, so on and so forth. But as long as you can create ads that evoke emotions and action, it doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, it's all about getting into giving people what they want. And if you can convey that in your marketing, then it doesn't matter what the algorithm looks like. It's all about getting engagement with the user. I think that's always what it's always been about, but now it's getting more towards that. The more you can get engagements on your ad, basically, or in this word, because at the end of the day, almost all advertisers calculate on a CPM basis, which is cost per mil. So every 1,000 views. But as an advertiser, you generally pay on a CPC basis. So you need to basically calculate your click-through rate to see what kind of CPM they're basically charging you. And they're trying to get the highest CPM, and you're trying to get the lowest CPC. So you're basically against the battle. And the more people that click on your ad every 1,000 views, which is basically your CTR, the higher that is, the higher the CPM is for the advertiser. So the better your ad is, the more people that click on it, the more money it makes the advertiser. So the better, at the end of the day, your ad needs to evoke an emotion for it to perform better. And the better it performs, the cheaper you can get your cost per click. That's basically how it works.
One thing you're saying though is that you have to give sort of you have to give the person, the individual who's seeing the ad, whatever name you want to put to that, whatever title, what they want. But sometimes, don't you think like people don't know what they want? So it's like sort of the company and the advertiser has to tell people this is also what you want.
Like that's the thing. It comes down to copywriting, because it's all about the primal needs and wants. It's not about like what we think we want or whatever, or what you see your future about. It's like the primal wants, primal needs. Like basically eating,
The laws of human nature.
stuff like that. Yeah, exactly. The core, and if you can basically invoke an emotion out of one of those, then that's how you get a reaction on your ad. And that's copywriting, and that's also not easy. Doing that is pretty tough.
No, that's the thing that also people don't realize. Like, the people, like when they see an ad and they're like, "Oh, that's a good ad," they don't realize like what went behind. Like that ad could have gone any direction. They could have gone to complete shit, or it could have been like what you're saying. Oh, it's a good ad, and the difference is like very subtle too. Like the copyright from the words you're using to the colors you're using to the image you use.
Yeah, of course,
video,
of course.
Like all this is like.
Of course.
Sometimes there's a bit of a luck factor on it, like that something caught on or that it just flowed and sounded very nice. But to make things
I agree, but
that's and feel organic, like natural, like, oh, this makes sense or this feels good, is like a skill of its own.
Of course. But I would argue that for mobile it's a little bit easier, or for games I would argue, because you can see what's already working. You can basically see what your competitors are doing. You can use tools to literally see what ads are running right now and what your competitors are running right now, and take ideas from that, and spin it off and make it your own.
Exactly.
Don't
Like
just
build on
copy
it.
paste, obviously, but build on it. And that's usually the quickest way to find an ad that works. Because if they've been running it for months at a time, then you can be pretty certain that it's performing well. Because otherwise, they would not be running it.
And the guy who was in charge of running ads just left. He's just not. We just left the ad running. Been there for
I don't know about that. It's usually teams. Like if you're looking at the right competitors.
Yeah. And then how does it work for? Now you're mentioning teams. Would the teams be they're testing out different campaigns, or like how would when is a team needed to run the advertising of a company?
When you reach a certain size.
So what would be
I
that
think
size?
that's a good question. It depends on the person. But I would argue maybe 100 to 200,000. I would start considering getting a second team member, at least. Could even be less than that, but that's what I've seen. I think around 100,000, maybe 50,000. Again, it depends. It depends on the company. It depends on a variety of factors. It depends on how many channels you're trying to reach out to. If you're only doing Facebook and Google, then one person can manage, up to 1 million a month, probably, probably more. But if their attention is split into, I don't know,
5 different platforms,
50 to 100 campaigns, it's a little bit harder for that person to
track,
focus,
and optimize.
Yeah, and track and optimize every single one of those.
Yeah. No, that's the thing, that there's a lot of like these I wouldn't say holes, but these gray areas in anything, right? In marketing, in selling, which is almost the same thing, to be honest. But it's like there's a lot of these gray areas, and it's always trying to figure out what actually works. And maybe in the end, a lot of people, like deep down, maybe no one knows what works, right? You just test, and then something sort of works for that moment, and then you're like, oh.
Deep down, nobody knows what works. Like, I don't think anybody truly knows if a piece of ad is going to work or not. Like, you can guess. And there have been, like, I remember not too long ago, there was another one, and they were just asking people, which ad or which landing page do you think will work better? And the one that won the votes usually lost in terms of statistics and performance, because it's so hard to actually say which ad will do best, because the way that your customer reacts is probably not the same way that you're thinking. So that's why you need to test. That's why the main mantra for marketing is testing. You got to test ads all the time. You got to test who you're targeting all the time. You got to test your message. You got to test a bunch of stuff until you see what works best, and then keep on testing, and then find something that works better than that. And once you find something that's better, you just keep on testing until you find something that's better. It's a never-ending story.
No, and I think that's the part of like life. Like even we're talking about advertising right now, but that's part of life, right? Is always testing, reiterating, and growing, developing, right? Sort of
Yeah,
like
of course,
even if something is
growing and
working,
developing. That's a
trying
good
to
way
find
say
the
it.
flaws in what's working to like make it even better, right? Like, all right, I'm
Yeah.
in the gym. How can I make this better? All right,
Yeah.
I'm going out surfing. How do I get better? Like I took a wave. Now what's next? It's always sort of a double-edged sword, because some people also get lost in the future too much and then they're never in the present. But it's like always trying to keep that in mind. Like, could I be doing this better? And if so, how? Could this be working more efficiently? If so, how? And then not
Yeah.
getting too frustrated with that, but also not getting too complacent. We're like, it's working. We're just going to take it easy, guys. Don't worry about it. And the next thing you know, you have some competitors that are building on top of whatever you've done, your previous successes, and then they just come in and swoop you away. And it's
Yeah.
like sort of like being like, all right, cool, we're doing good, things are working, but wait a minute, this might not be forever. So let's figure out what's next.
Yeah.
And with that being said, I think that's a good note. I see a note on the back of your wall. I don't know. I can only read that. Always.
It's the same one as my LinkedIn profile. It's as marketers, we should be changing the mantra from always be closing to always be helping. So I should probably have like ABT, like always be testing up there or something like that, because that is also
No, I think
pretty
that's
important.
the newfound value. I think for anyone in any discipline is sort of having this open mind of like, I know that people always love like certainty. Like people that are like, this is how we're gonna do it. This is how it's gonna go, and this is the business plan. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But sometimes like it doesn't go like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 because
No, I don't think it ever goes the way that you actually plan it. I don't like. Uh, Maybe I've never met somebody, but if you follow anybody that does any sort of business advice, I don't think any one of them has said, "Yeah, it worked exactly as
exactly that's why it goes back to like, you
planned."
gotta test.
I'd be surprised. I haven't read anybody saying that yet. Maybe I just haven't looked hard enough.
It's the problem. You just didn't plan good enough, right? You didn't plan well enough. So it's just
Yeah,
yeah.
that was the
That's
problem.
why. How did you not predict that earthquake? Come on. Like they're gonna take down the whole internet. How didn't you know that was gonna happen?
How did you not predict that there would be a new virus spreading and factories would be closed and you
Yeah,
can no longer do your drop shipping business?
exactly. Oh yeah, no, don't even tell me about that. That thing is crazy. Oh man, no, the world's a crazy place, and that's why you can't be like stone. You can't be concrete. You can't be still and stiff. You have to be like adaptive,
Yeah,
because just
gotta be like
chaotic.
water. You have to flow.
Yeah, be like water, Bruce Lee, whatever it is. But it's just like you got to be adaptive, and also you got to do your part, right? You got to be learning. You got to be figuring things out. You can't just be that guy. I think it's Jim Rohn that he's like, there's two
The
types
growth
of
never
people.
ends.
Yeah, growth never ends. And that's the thing. It's like, why even like be happy that you're reaching new milestones and you're developing, and just like enjoy the process. And there's like those two types of people, right? There's the people that they hear a word they don't know and they just say okay, and there's the people that hear a word they don't know and they go look it up in the dictionary. And
Yeah.
like those are sort
Or
of like,
ask, what does that mean?
or ask, right? Either way, like, well, exactly, like both of them going looking in the dictionary or asking somebody. But it's like sort of being that person who wants to go one level deeper, and then 2 levels deeper, and then 3 levels and just go deeper into whatever it is you're doing. It doesn't matter if you're a swimmer, or if you're an online marketer, or if you're developing a new hotel chain somewhere in the Caribbean, or somewhere in Spain or Africa, or whatever it is, or you're building a mobile app. Like sort of just like going deep into whatever you're doing to make that experience that much more fruitful and an actual experience, right? Because some experiences, yeah, sure, you go on a roller coaster ride and you do the same ride that everyone has done, and it's not that like unique, you know. But to do something unique, you almost have to like, you really have to go deep in a way. You know, you can't just scratch the surface, because then it's like, you know,
Yeah, no, of course.
go
Of
to
course.
Paris and see the Eiffel Tower. All right, maybe go to Paris to learn about the Eiffel Tower. All right, you know, or maybe like the third step is, who knows, you know, figuring that out, whatever is
Getting
the
some locals to take you out and see all the local sites, I would argue.
no, exactly. It's just like doing something a little bit more than just like doing what everyone else is doing. Because in the end, if
Yeah.
you're all always just scratching the surface, we're never going to go deep, and then we're never going to have those breakthroughs that you have, or those moments of realization after the thousandth light bulb doesn't work. Yeah, that word is a tongue twister for me for some reason. But it's like
Isn't that
after,
how many it took Edison?
yeah, no,
Something
that's
like
what I'm
that.
saying. Like whatever that number is, if it's true or false, we don't know. You know, I wasn't there, so I can tell you. But the point is, like, just not stopping, just continuing to try, continuing to reiterate, and being happy with where you got and what you got, but also sort of being like, what more could we do? What is next? You know, like, okay, we built 1,000 rooms hotel. Can we do 1,500? Can we do 3,000? You know, we brought 6 million
Yeah.
tourists to this country. Can we do 7? Can we do 8? You know, like sort of this whole process of like, what's next? What can we do? Instead of just being like complacent and, you know, it is what it is and c'est la vie. You do need that sort
It
of
is it,
just happen, but
it is difficult though, because once something is working, it's really easy to become complacent.
yeah.
And I think that's the hard part about it.
That's why we got to put a reminder. I'm going to maybe put that on the back of my wall too, saying, well, here I don't have a wall, but saying, don't be complacent. Don't
Don't
settle
be
for
complacent.
mediocrity.
Speaking of generic advice, but that's the thing with generic advice. Sometimes it's common sense, but
Give
like
you a
it
reminder.
seems common sense is sometimes not that common,
Yeah.
or it's also hard to follow all common sense, because there's a lot of common sense to follow.
Well, it goes back to that as well, that people just like complex things, you know, like if it's not complex, then it's not novel. And if it's not novel, then like, oh, why would I do that? Why would I only wear a black shirt and black pants every single day of my life? That's boring. But what comes with that is a whole nother side of it. It's like a discipline of being like, I'm only going to do this, right? That's like a whole discipline of its own. Like dedicating yourself to going deeper into something means you're completely ignoring everything else, right? Like
Yeah,
you being an online marketer or someone being a doctor means that he chose to not be anything else than that one thing, which of its own is like a sacrifice and a discipline. Because you're like, I could have been a Formula One racer, but instead I'm here being a doctor. You know, I could have been a basketball player traveling the world, but instead I'm here uh, being a coach at some local school. You know,
yeah,
so
yeah. That might not have to do with complacency. That might have, a lot of other factors to contribute. But yeah,
I
sure.
don't know if that was regarding complacency. I think I sort of skipped to a whole nother topic in a way.
Okay,
But
okay.
it's like, yeah, I didn't give any intro to that, but it's sort of that, just like understanding like there's so much contradictions and irony and all types of sorry about that, someone was staring me down. There's all
You
types
gotta
of
go.
no, not I was just someone driving, but just looking.
Oh, okay.
So I do have to go soon, but it's just I was just thinking about like this final thought of that. In the end, it's not that simple, but it also is that simple, and that's what's simple about it, and not
Yeah,
simple about it. You
I
know,
don't think the world is black and white.
but is it?
I don't think so.
Yeah, well, we don't think so, but it's like
That's
maybe.
just my opinion. It's just my 2 cents, as you might say.
Yeah, I get you, but it's just also thinking about that you know it's not black and white, or we might not think it's black and white, but then again, a lot of things are like yin and yang. yes and no. Like
Yeah,
there is a lot of that, and sometimes we get lost
sure.
in color because then we get distracted, and then we don't get focused, and that comes down to it. Is that you got to focus down, and when you're focusing, you're also choosing not to choose anything else, which
Yeah,
of its own is something that's difficult, right? Like being specific in mobile apps, being specific in mobile games, being specific in the tourism industry. That means you're not in the lawyer industry, you're not in the doctor industry, you're not in that. And then you're also better able to serve those people in those industries
of
because now you
course.
know more. You're like, hey guys, this is how things work.
Yeah,
Not 100% because things do change, but this is the general gist of this industry, of this process. But if you're there jumping around like, oh, I'm going to help doctors, I'm going to help lawyers, I'm going to help um, what else, I'm going to help car companies, I'm going to help tire companies, I'm going to help B2B, I'm going to help B2C. Like, yeah, sure, there might be some general principles that can like go through into each field, but to do a really good job, you sort of have to dive in. You got to go deeper.
yeah, agreed.
So, with that being said, I think the fact that we're all getting active on LinkedIn, I think is pretty good. We're seeing where this is gonna go. We're gonna have to start
Yeah,
connecting.
man, we'll see, man. We'll see. I think this is the first video I'm actively posting on any of my social medias. So let's see.
Now let's see, and it's just like a matter of putting yourself out there. In the end, too, is that if you're not putting yourself out there, then you never know, right? So
Yeah, exactly.
the other side is that a lot of people, a lot of people's ideas, a lot of people's thoughts, a lot of people's services, a lot of people's products, like they don't get out there because they don't put it out there. So you got to put yourself
Yeah,
out there. You got to put whatever
of
it is out
course.
there just to see what
Of course.
happens, because maybe one day Oprah Winfrey sees what you're doing and she's like, hey, I really like that book you wrote. And next thing you know, your book is a global seller just because
Yeah.
she found it, because you left it somewhere on a table on her desk specifically. I don't know. That sort of went a bit straight, that last part, but you get the
But
idea.
you can also force it a bit by like sending her a copy or sending
Yeah, like
people
force your
around
luck.
her copies and stuff like that.
Sure, force your luck, and then also capitalizing on your luck too, because some people might, Oprah Winfrey, or let's just, I don't know if this is the best example, she might get the copy, but they never followed up. Maybe she's like, hey, why don't you come on the show and talk about your book? And then you're like, nah, it's all good. I just wanted you to see it. Then again, maybe you are that type of guy who just wanted her to see it. But then also, if you're trying to actually become a writer and sell more books, then maybe you're like, yeah, I should actually show up to this instead of not show up to
Even
this.
it, even if it makes me super uncomfortable.
Even it makes you super uncomfortable. So you have to put
Back to
yourself out there.
growth. Yeah,
That's why, like Oprah Winfrey,
but that's the thing. It's growing. It's just moving forward.
it's growing, and you only grow in the discomfort. You only grow like through a combination of these things, of like getting outside your comfort zone, having discipline, following through with ideas and concepts to see where they go.
Of course.
But a lot of people nowadays, for better or for worse, I think for worse, are not going deeper. And like we need more, like the future is not only generalists, right? It's like you might have some that have multiple talents, and you do need to have some multiple talents, a multiple under, like a holistic understanding, though it's like just that constant, we really think we're walking on solid ground, but I have a feeling we're on some sort of tightrope or some sort of thin layer of ice that just slowly is breaking or descending, because it's like there's nothing is solid anymore. Nothing is constant. It's always adapting and always changing. And you as an individual, if you're not adapting and if you're not changing, then what? You die. Almost. You get left behind.
I wouldn't say it so harshly, but sure.
Well, it is what it is, right? Like, and it's not about, that's the thing too. It's not about today. It's about in a year, in 5 years, in 10 years. Your decisions right now are going to affect where you're going to be in that future, right? For whether you're a company, whether you're an individual, whether you're a product or a service, you know, everything you do today matters. That ad that you place, that post that you posted, that article that you sent out, that interview you went to, that video you posted, well, I said post, but that video you posted or created, you know, that person you talked to, all those things play a role in the future. Even though you might not notice it, it does, right?
Yeah, of course. To
You
some
waving
degree.
at the stranger across the street might not mean anything, or giving a smile, but maybe next time you wave at some stranger and you have a conversation, and next thing you know, that's the person you marry. Who knows, right?
Yeah, I mean,
You're gonna have that habit of waving at people,
that's basically what happened to me. So sure, I'll agree to that.
waving. Hey, what's up? You want to get married? Not yet. All right, sounds good. No, we'll talk a little bit later then.
Sure.
All right, David. So I guess we'll have to end this call because I do have to go.
No, me too. It's all good.
And yeah, man, make sure you have some fun. When are you going to Fuerteventura? Or
In 2.5 weeks.
2.5 weeks. All right.
But I'll take my laptop with me.
Okay.
I'll still be working.
Perfect. So
I call it workation, so it's not like vacation and work.
And that's also a nice thing, you know. That's the beauty about the internet side is that anywhere in the world things can be happening.
Yeah.
You know, as long as there's an internet connection, and it's good to go.
But it's also important to learn when to shut off, I think. But as long as you do that, you know, regularly enough, it doesn't matter when you do it. If you do it in vacation or if you do it like under the week or whatever.
I don't know if you've ever heard about this, but it's disconnecting to reconnect, right? So
yeah.
So that's sometimes.
And I agree with that. I mean, the world is digital, but we need to like be careful not to be too digital.
Well, it goes back to what I kept saying: is the yin and the yang. And sometimes people are like, "Hey, Charles, you said this one thing, and now you're saying this other thing that's completely different than what you just said was a fact or the truth." I'm like, "Yeah, but they're both true. You know, they're both facts. They're just."
I just forgot what I said before.
It's not about forgetting. It's just that's how life is. Life is just confusing as all hell, and people just want the 1, 2, 3. You know, 6-minute abs, the 7-day green juice to cure your life, and it's like sometimes it's not that simple.
The 1 hour session to fix 20 years of pain.
Exactly. Everything you did for the last 60 years, we can solve that right now. Buy this powder for $9.99 and you're good to go.
Yeah, that's basically what it is. That's why that works so well.
So that's also why I think there's like this responsibility of like there are certain things that help you. I think what in the end sort of helps you is realizing, like, trying to bring you closer to consciousness, right? So anything that's making you unconscious is maybe working against you, and things that are making you more conscious or having more thoughts or more some sort of actions or something that's spurring something in you, I think is like a positive side. But it's like, that's the thing. People are just like they're getting too stale. They're getting stale. That's what it is. We're getting stale. We're not going deep, getting slow, you know, but we feel like we're going fast, but we're also not going fast. And it's like this whole thing of what you're saying, like finding that balance, you know, the disconnecting to reconnect, the yes and the no, the black and the white, whatever you want to call it, you know, there's all truth behind everything. You know, there's not one single truth. Just depends on the circumstance. Water could be good for you when you're dehydrated. If you're hydrated and you just keep drinking water, well, you're not going to do so well, right? So everything within its own context, within its own limits.
Everything has a balance. Yeah.
So leaving it at that, man. Have a balanced day.
Likewise. I am actually going to log off for a few hours. Spend some time with my daughter. So, yeah.
So there you go. Enjoy the fatherly life.
Yeah, I actually do. So.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good. All right, David. We'll keep in touch.
Yeah, man.
Peace.